Welcome to the podcast. We talk about all the things that are hidden in the shadows. This is Isaac.
And this is Megan.
Yeah. So, same situation. Wisely. This time Hell in a Cell.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm blaming wrestling for our tardiness. But now the subject had to take some thinking on. And today we're talking all about multidimensional ideas. Not necessarily the fourth and the fifth, but because there's so many different ideas of what outside our own is, that we kind of have to, I don't know, learn the concept. But there's going to be a lot of our theorizing and what we've learned, because we can't measure, or we can't even comprehend a dimension beyond our own.
Yeah.
What we are right now. And technically we are in the third dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what this episode's all about today.
Yeah. And a little disclaimer that just so like, you know, they don't come at us with the pitchforks and all that stuff. So this episode is going to be a lot, like Isaac said, of theorized stuff. There's not like 100% concrete information on this. This is just a lot of what people, psychics, what are they called? The quantum healer people have gathered from people, like all of that kind of stuff. Like, and even Dolores Cannon has mentioned it. A lot of psychics talk about it. So this is a lot of theorized theories and stuff that people have gotten and kind of like thought about. So I'm not saying that none of this might be right, but this is a lot of stuff that doesn't have, is this right? Is this wrong? Because no one really knows yet. And that's the glory of this subject, is that while there's little pieces here and there that are researched and kind of like figured out, some of it isn't. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
In a sense.
And the whole reason I brought up this idea anyway was because of what I have been doing.
Yeah. And
for reference, if you didn't listen to last episode, at the end of it, I'll bring it up again.
Okay.
In case this is your first time. My ability allows me to pull energy from where I can see and where I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that also correlates with energy I can see through things, i.e. a phone or computer. If I can visually see in real time what's happening to you on the other side, doesn't matter if you're in another room or across the world, I can pull the energy through the phone, essentially, visually, like a FaceTime or any kind of like that. And I've only practiced this a couple of times. But, and there's a story at the end, by the way, that's in correlation with all this, but I'll say it towards the end. But, it feels like after that situation with my friend Cameron, of how whatever I did, I pulled through the phone, something that was his place to mine, it created almost a tear in space and time that allowed me to smell his room.
Yeah.
And that was extremely strange. Like the smell from his room brought it to my room.
Yeah, and like me personally, I wasn't able to smell it. So, and I was in the room. And
there's a lot more theories behind what's going on. And believe me, there's every time we figure something out, there's about 100 more questions about what's going on.
Yeah.
So, but the whole concept of it made me think of the idea of like 4 dimensions, or at least the 4D in the fourth dimension. And I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the smartest men in the world, talked about how Monsters, Inc., of all concepts, was 4-dimensionally scientifically correct. Of how they would open the door and you would go into another place. But if the door closed and you went around it, there was nothing there. Like literally, if you open the door, the access way to the kid's room was there. But if you walked around the other side of the door, that was not, I guess open the door, right? Mm-hmm. If you went around the other side, you wouldn't see inside the room. But if you went to the other side where the door is open, you would.
Dang.
So that had the whole concept of 4 dimensions. Now, the reason why I brought that up in the first place is because if I'm pulling from one place and then I'm visually looking at the other, I'm not astral projecting. I'm not remote viewing in. Because what I'm pulling, I have to see in front of me. So essentially, it turned my phone and his phone that were, of course, across the state back to back. So I kind of created a bridge. Like I folded the space between each other and allowed me to do that. And I think doing that created that, I don't know, condition of like a tear, essentially, that allowed whatever was in his room to mine.
Yeah.
Now, I've also done this with other people, other psychics, other people who've asked, including the story at the end. But, and I say across the world, PETA, with her investigation she does in Australia. Mind you, this is a different time zone. I have seen what she's doing, and I pull things from where she is in Australia to here. So it doesn't matter the distance, as long as I can see. Now, that would made me entirely wondering about how fourth and fifth dimension ideas work. And what we know as to so far is that my theory, and this has been backed up by other scientists and other psychics and stuff like that, is that the fourth dimension is time, time and space. But in order to view for the fourth dimension, you have to go to above it, which is the fifth dimension. And that's the only way you can view other dimensions that are lower is if you're higher. Because we can perceive 2D and 1D dimensions, because we can see it, because we're in the third dimension. But our physical bodies and our mind is they can't, what's the word? They can't fathom the fourth dimension, right? Because imagine you're here now, wherever you are, but you're also 10 years old, but you're also 80 years old at the same time in the fourth dimension. Moving through time for a fourth dimensional being, essentially, is as simply as opening a book and reading to the next page or getting up and walking to the next room. That is the concept for them. And that's why I always theorize that spirits, ghosts, demons, all that stuff live on the fourth dimension. Is why time, almost to most of them, like say residual spirits, is the same thing over and over again. They're technically whenever they're dead, and they're repeating the thing over and over again. But we're in our time. But they're happening at the same time to them. And it is happening at the same time. It's happening in the early 1800s, and it's happening in 2022 at the same time in the fourth dimension.
Yeah.
And that is a concept that blows everyone's minds when they think about it.
Yeah.
And if you go higher to the fifth dimension, you'll be able to look down to the fourth. That's why a fourth dimensional being can't see above, but they can see us.
Yeah.
And that's why they can move through time and stuff like that, especially why spirits could technically be here and they can be there and they can travel through space essentially so easily and so fast. But yeah, so that's what we so far learned. Now, your physical body and your mind is incapable of concepting the fourth and fifth dimension, but your soul, your consciousness, the essence that you are, can go to the fourth and fifth dimension because the essence of you is multidimensional.
Yeah.
Now, what's even weirder is something I learned today is that in the fourth dimension of time and space, if you're viewed down from the fifth, you also can view every decision never made or has been made, i.e. the multiverse. For in order for things to exist, you have to see them as everything all at the same time. Every decision not made. So the multiverse essentially is an ideal concept that can be viewed from the fifth dimension.
Your higher self.
In a sense. That's why your higher self is connected to all your past lives or even all the other versions of yourself.
Dang.
I don't know. I mean, the whole multiverse thing, yeah, that I always thought was kind of iffy about it, but after my episodes, the de jure things I used to have, and then what my friend learned to do by shifting through different realities, essentially, different versions of himself. I think I told that before on a different, I forgot what episode, but I'm starting to think that there is other versions of myself that has done different things, but I can't access that. Some people can, or who can shift through other realities or other versions of themselves. But we're talking about dimensions here. So,
yes.
What's a fifth dimensional being would be is what we concept as a god who can view all time, all space, be everywhere and be nowhere at the same time. Right? Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, sorry. And the fifth dimensional beings are essentially what people think is aliens, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're multi-dimensional beings. Their physical bodies allow them to travel through multiple dimensions and go up or down. Um, and I know you have a story
Oh God.
of you meditating probably to the fifth dimension. And this is where it goes in with the idea that psychics, as yourself, and people who can tap into the fourth and fifth see things differently and see things that they can't comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Why you get visions, why you get glimpses of the future, why you get messages and stuff like that. You're getting stuff from the fourth dimension because time and space is easy as flipping through. So that's why you see something in the future, but you can't comprehend why
Mm-hmm.
because you're in third dimension. But those thoughts, the images that you're given are from the fourth,
Mm-hmm.
without any concept of why.
Yeah.
Um, and that was a theory that I was playing around with, is that if you can't physically go to the fourth and fifth, your consciousness, your essence of yourself can, but you're still imprisoned, per se.
Yeah, because you have that cord, essentially, the invisible cord keeping you from your
Well,
body.
to your mind. And how our minds comprehend stuff like that is we can't.
Yeah.
Hence why when we see things in the fourth and fifth dimension, we can't comprehend them.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, for me, if you've been listening to the podcast from the very beginning, you consistently hear me talk about my dreams and how I astral, because when you astral project, you can kind of move between the 4D. I want to say like you stay on the 4D. Like you sometimes will go up to the 5D, but you stay on the 4D. And so when I go to sleep, like literally I wish I could like put something where people could see like exactly what I see like when I go um on the astral plane at night. And sometimes obviously I don't remember. But okay, so when I like go to sleep, I could feel myself like literally leaving my body in a sense consistently. And
That's why what strong meditation can get you to get answers, say from the spirit guides and say messages and stuff like that with psychics. So we always say meditation grounds you in a sense like that,
yeah.
brings you back to reality because you're going somewhere else technically.
Yeah, which is crazy because I have a hard time. I meditate, but I have a hard time making time for meditation, if that makes sense. I need to start doing that. And even like readings that I've gotten recently, that's one of the main things that they have told me is like, Megan, focus on meditation, meditation. So there was this one time, like, I keep feeling like I know more than what I have in my head and like psychic wise, not like, you know, like person wise, I guess you could say, like more like psychic wise.
All right.
It's hard to explain. Anyways, so I feel like I know more, like I have more messages and stuff like that, but I can't tap into it. So there was one day where because I get a lot of messages in the shower for whatever reason. Water is a big thing for me, anyways. Um, and I was in the shower and I kept getting, well, why don't you try almost astral projecting, but in between the state of awake and asleep, right? And so I had this idea to meditate, get myself there, and then have Isaac ask me questions. And so where I was kind of in this meditated state and I would just go with answers. Anyways, so I had a hard time like rationalizing in my head about like, how people say there's like different higher beings like the Lyrans or like Octurians and stuff like that. They're kind of like alien higher beings, right? That some psychics get messages, frequently from. Anyways, I had never seen anything. There was some stuff that like resonated with me. Anyways, so I go into this thing and I kind of basically force myself into meditation, like into a deep meditation. And I get myself there and I'm laying there and it felt like I was dreaming, but I wasn't dreaming. I was like awake. I don't know how to describe it. And I had they basically brought me to, I was on this, it almost looked like a pillar in the clouds. I was on this gold pillar and there was seats all around. And sitting there was my spirit guides. Then what I would say was a Lyran. I call her the Lyran General. It sounds so crazy when I talk about it. Like, I know people are like, what the hell?
No one comes to this podcast to hear normal things.
I know. But anyway, so it was like this woman, the Lyran General. I don't even know. I don't know. And it was like some of my ancestors and stuff like that. And I was like, I remember Isaac had asked me questions like how many times, if you believe in past lives and reincarnation, like how many times have I reincarnated? How many times, what is the goals, like, like the future kind of, hold for our team, hold for the podcast, for us individually. And I was asking, this team of people. And so yeah. I had talked to the Lyran General, and it was crazy. Like when she was talking to me, it sounded like singing, but I telepathically was getting what she was saying. Like how we talk, it was telepathic. Is how. Anyways, so I got out of that, and a couple months later, this was recent. Now, a couple months after that took place, which would put us like 2 weeks ago from today that I did this, I did a huge, apparently there was a hex that was on me health-wise, and I had removed it. And I had done this big like cleansing thing of like, like cleansing myself with different like salt baths and stuff like that. And I started going into this vision, of course, in the water. And I was walking, because for me, where I meet my spirit guides, anybody that goes and, starts doing stuff with their abilities and you meet your spirit guides, I feel like there's a place that is considered home to you. And for me, it's the forest at night, which is funny that most of our investigations occurred in forest and night.
Which I don't like because of the spiders.
When we were actively investigating, but that was like my, like, I guess, home feeling. It's these big, like, almost like Pacific Northwest, like looking trees, and there's an opening and there's mountains, and it's this bluish, greenish, like night sky, right? And I start walking down this path, and these two wolves meet me side by side, and I could feel like the head of the wolf in my hands, like as I'm walking, like I'm petting its head. And all of a sudden, a black panther goes behind me. And it's kind of ironic because a lot of the times the wolf spirit guides you. And if you look up the spiritual meaning of a black panther, it's like confidence and a high protection and stuff like that. So I'm walking, and then I go into this clearing, and inside of this clearing is, of course, my spirit guides, my like ancestors, the same kind of setup. And I remember, I was asking them questions and stuff, and it seemed like 45 minutes in the vision, but in actual time, it was like 10 minutes. So, and that's the thing, is like time is different on 4D and 5D, So, before I left out of the vision, the Lyran General, and it looks exactly like when you look up Lyran people or Lyran entities, it was verbatim what she looked like. She had a golden hue around her, but she had like I don't know if it's a cheetah or like a lion head. People
We gotta call Lyran for a reason.
Yeah, people are probably like, what the actual heck? Yeah, it was hard for me to like wrap around my head that I saw that, but then I knew, like, I've had this type of stuff happen to me for the longest time, so I know I wasn't making that that stuff up. And so, before I left, she asked if I had felt better after the cleansing, and I was like, yes, And then she reached out her hand and she goes, well, it wasn't really a hand, whatever,
Paul.
No, it was like I don't know. Okay. Anyways,
Anyway.
like, are you ready? And I was like, for what? For what? Like, and she goes, yeah, I think you're ready. And then the two wolves and the panther led me out of the forest. So what I'm ready for, nah, I don't know what that is. So I don't know if that's like maybe investigating more, maybe going to more intense places, maybe helping people, which is kind of crazy because the story towards the end, this happened right before the story that's going to take place at the end of this episode. That's going to go into somebody that we helped recently. And so,
well, this would also led me to the theory that, I think I cracked a code, but why Mike on our paranormal team was able to get such powerful messages and travel to the site so easily during his time in anesthesia and surgery. And what I discovered, and it's probably not something new to some people, but it was new to us, is that the same thing happened to me with anesthesia. My body was numbed and knocked out, separated from my mind. Hence why I was able to go where I wanted to go and speak to my grandfather from the time I was in a Cheyenne spirit warrior and why he gave me the name and all that stuff. But my Mike spent so much time because his surgeries were longer.
Yeah, like 5-6 hours.
That's what gave me the idea, or at least the epiphany you would say, is that when your body is fully disconnected from your mind, when you're numbed up to the T that you can't feel your body anymore, you can travel up into the 5th dimension and stare down to the 4th and get all these messages, get all this information, and the beings there can either help or tell you, hey, what the fuck are you doing up here? Like the Lyran woman in the 5th dimension, she probably recognized you, and that's why she kind of said, okay, this person's allowed to be here.
Well, I think there had to be a message, I think, that I don't know, that I needed to know. I don't know. I mean, every time I had those visions, stuff started taking off in terms of abilities, in terms of like getting more opportunities with the podcast, doing more things with our abilities and kind of like leveling up. So I think I get like a glimpse of it because that's the thing with psychics too. I think they are able to go up and see you down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how they're able to get things.
Yeah. And that's what is we're theorizing right now.
Yeah.
Is why it is capable.
Yeah.
People who are psychically in tuned, let's say, right? Their consciousness and their connection to realities outside our own are very strong. Now, does everyone have an ability to? Yeah. But psychics have that easier access. Somewhat their mind is connected to the other side. Is why you can see them, the spirits, you can talk to them.
And I think that's why, if you notice, a lot of psychics, when they have near-death experiences, it's like they peel a layer off their third eye, and their abilities just go crazy. Even with me, when I think about it, when I kind of basically, when I had my son and I lost all that blood, and I could literally see like white mist, and I could hear people. I mean, I was like fading, and I could hear people up there like talking like, no, Megan, go back down, like, and it wasn't the nurses. And I had Mike read that situation because I was like, did I like almost die? And he was like, yeah, you were on the path to crossing over to the other side. Like you were almost there. You lost too much blood. And so yeah. So that's what I think too, is like when I mean, there's a lot of psychics when they experience life after death, or not life after death. I keep going there. But when they keep near-death experiences, it's like it amplifies because they have that moment where they're looking up and then looking down. And they're able to, it's almost like they make a connection, so they're able to almost consistently go into that connection.
Now, I always feel that the study of the fourth and fifth dimensions would be the access way of acknowledging the paranormal, because scientists are studying the ideas of the fourth and fifth dimension
Yeah.
and correlating, not exclusively, but psychics and mediums are doing the same thing, or have been for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, when science and the paranormal can finally bridge, like I want them to, then the proving of the existence of the supernatural, at least the spiritual side, will be more easier when they start figuring ways to view the fourth and fifth dimension, which is almost impossible. It's still theorized right now.
Yeah.
Now, something interesting that NASA discovered.
Ooh.
You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the picture of the gravitational pull of the Earth, right? It almost, you got like the ball, and you got the giant, almost like big old hoop thing, right? Of the energy of the magnetic pull around Earth, our magnetic field.
Yeah.
It goes from our South Pole to our North Pole, and they connect, and it spreads out, and that creates the gravitational pull. Hence why things that get into our atmosphere get pulled in when they go through, our gravitational field.
Yeah.
That same thing exists in our solar system around the sun. That's why all the planets are moving around the sun. Same gravitational pull. Now, they discovered this same pull in the universe.
Dang.
Around a black hole. The black hole is the center, and it is pulling all these other solar systems into it as a gravitational pull. If you want to go in higher, what's outside of that?
Yeah.
Right? And that was the idea of a concept of dimensions in a sense like that. If we can go to space and get there. But we're finding easier access if we're just trying to do it the way we're doing.
Well, another thing, too, that I find very interesting that is being talked about with psychics more and more is like when they're channeling and they're getting information and stuff like that. There's one specific psychic. I think her name is called Vampire Virgo, but I'm not sure, on TikTok. She's super interesting. And that's what, you as like listeners too, when you start diving into psychics and stuff like that. Not every psychic you're going to agree with. Not every psychic, you're going to resonate with. So, just take it with a grain of salt. Like, not every psychic I agree with, like on certain subjects. But it's kind of interesting when you start hearing, and that's the cool thing about like social media and stuff like that now, is that everyone can put their ideas out there, and it's helping us almost like collectively find things with the paranormal and, psychics and stuff like that. But one thing she talks about consistently is wormholes. Like when she channels people, she goes into wormholes and gets spit out in, the showing of a past life or whatever. And I found that interesting. I have not dealt with that, but like I said, I need to focus a lot more on channeling that kind of stuff and meditating. I keep getting, like I'll get more information if I start doing that. And it's just, being a mom and stuff, sometimes finding a quiet moment where I can relax my mind enough to go do that is hard sometimes. And you guys have heard us say it repeatedly on this podcast that our son is not on a normal sleep schedule. So it's hard sometimes, with that. But yeah, and then there's even some people that talk about like when they go on the astral plane, they go through wormholes or even they black holes. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Well, the idea of the wormhole anyway was a way to cut space in half. Say, us traveling through light speed will take long if we don't invent the light engine and able to do so. Go across, and in the idea of time in space it blows your mind that you can only see ever far time allows, right? Somebody viewing our Earth from 1 billion light years away is viewing it 1 billion light years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe why no one ever sees aliens look at Earth and just see dinosaurs and whatever else is here versus actual mankind and what the future is.
Yeah.
But then also has the question, if they're smart enough to see that far away, you think they would invent it also to speed up what's actually happening?
Yeah.
So, but no, that's how space and time works, is that the farther away you go, the more a time ago it was. So that's why if we were to travel ever how many years away and come back, that's how many years has passed.
Yeah.
So if you left in your current physical body in your 20s and you leave and go a million light years away and travel that time, you come back, it's a million years later.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
It like this concept, that's why it took so long. I'm gonna tell you because it itches my brain. Like it makes my brain go like
It was a lot of people like, oh,
yeah,
sparks in your brain going off.
Yeah, literally, that was me the whole time. Like, you could even ask Isaac. Like, I would research. Like, I have no notes this time because I was just like, I'm just going to go off what comes to me because, yeah. And so I kept trying to make notes, and I was like, oh, my brain is like,
Yeah.
like, it's hard. It's hard to rationalize a lot of this stuff. But I feel like the subject is important because a lot of psychics are talking more about it. It's being brought into like typical, this used to be kind of more of those rabbit hole subjects, but now it's bringing more into what is now.
But what I was saying is that this is where the concept of wormhole comes in.
Yeah.
It was basically cutting the space in half. So instead of traveling the million light years it takes you to get from one place to the other, the wormhole would allow it to bridge. And you wouldn't have to travel that distance in space, just go through one point to the other. Almost like a portal, like Doctor Strange's portals and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's he
funny. Creates space and time in fourth dimension to allow someone from a certain part of the world into this part. And that's how he does it. So, yeah, a lot of scientific stuff goes into Marvel movies every now and then, and people just kind of go right over their head with.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what a wormhole does. So if someone's using a wormhole psychically, they are traveling through different time and space to get to someplace quicker. Right?
Yeah.
So, the same concept allows. Now, speaking of portals and wormholes, it's time for the story.
Ooh. Okay, so I think how we should tell this, you should tell them the first time you pulled, and then what I got psychically, and then go back to what you did after I told you what I got psychically.
Now, like I said, I've been practicing with pulling things through phones that people have asked me to do. I've done it with Cameron. I've done it with a few other people. Like I said, with PETA at her location and stuff like that. So it's not a new concept for me. But having you help with that and channeling it, and at least remote viewing, does help me pinpoint exactly where I'm looking. Instead of just feel around, you give me the point of view of where you are in your home, and then I try to find something.
Yeah.
So, our friend Barry.
Yeah, shout out to Barry.
Barry Rick, the man with two first names. He reached out to us for help because he was dealing with something in his apartment.
Yeah.
That he couldn't concept with, and from what he's told me, it probably followed him from wherever it originated from. He said from a chair. That might have been a haunted object that attached itself to him and followed him. Now, he lives in an apartment with his kids, his son, right? I can't remember.
I think it's...
He's probably like...
Yeah, his son and his family, I think.
Yeah. So he's a retired guy, lives on his own, but this, whatever the spirit was in his place, was always causing havoc. Tearing apart his room, messing things around, stuff like that. Just being complete a-hole, right?
And his nephew actually would see some of this stuff.
Yes. So that made me think malevolent human spirit.
Yeah.
Right? So we got in contact. He showed me around the apartment, and I found something in his bedroom towards the closet door. I pulled it. Wasn't that bad. I said, okay, if something happens and we're good. How many days later did he call us back?
Okay, so what happened next was, because I originally was supposed to remote view in for the first time Isaac called him, and I was like, I'm not getting a clear picture. You need to talk to him first and see if you can give me any kind of anything, right? And Isaac had said he got it, and of course, I always message to make sure everything's good, and he goes, "Yeah, I know Isaac definitely got something." But I feel like the thing is still here because the next day it must have, whatever Isaac pulled must have been something else. But his entire room was in disarray the next day.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, I've talked to him. He sent me a picture of his room, which I can do it without pictures, but it's like it seals that connection 100% if I see a picture, if that makes sense. Because I was remote viewing using Google Maps from the address he gave me, and I kept going to another area of the subdivision or wherever he's at, and I was like, I couldn't like make that connection. So I said, if you could send me a picture, I'll see if I can get it. And I kept getting under the bed, like under the bed. And I was like, okay. And so I told Barry, you know, like, don't worry, we'll get this. Like, you know, give me like 24 hours to fully get my information. And I kept telling Isaac, like, this is what I see. I keep seeing under the bed, and I keep seeing almost like it goes from like the third, because Barry's on the second floor, right?
Yeah.
I keep seeing like going down, going up, going down, going up, going down, going up. Like, I just keep seeing this thing going from apartment to apartment, down, up, side to side, like everywhere. Like, it's just, it flows. And I said, I think when you did it, when he did the video thing with you, it wasn't in the apartment at the time. It was, I don't know, up, down, side, side. I don't know, but it was in another apartment. It was going up, down, wherever.
Which brings us to night 2 of
Yeah.
us trying to do something.
So one of the things that I have, I guess, acquired and learned to do with my abilities is keep things there, I guess. So I remote viewed and I saw this thing and it literally looked like, and I basically set up this thing where it was like anything in here that has any type of ill will cannot leave the apartment, whatever, right? And it needs to stop going up and down. You need to stop going up and down, side to side. I remember, like, of course, the thing was mocking me and mocking Isaac, but it was just this black amoeba-looking weird thing. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever seen what is it, the stink bubble thing from SpongeBob? It wasn't a bubble, but it was like that. It was very flowy, like smoke.
You can say a lava lamp kind of thing.
Yeah, like a lava lamp thing.
Yeah.
But it had, like, if you guys know from Alice in Wonderland, the Cashmere cat, it had the Cheshire cat, sorry, yeah. Cashmere. Why did I say that? I don't know. Anyways, it had the same teeth, and it was like no eyes, but it was like you could kind of see the eyes because it was like in the shadow, but it was like it was weird. It was like it would almost like go like as it would talk, right? And I was like, look, Barry doesn't want you here in the apartment anymore. You cannot be here, but you need to stay here because you've been warned multiple times with not only us, but you've been warned by other, you know, like psychics, other things to get out of the apartment, and you have not. So you cannot do this to Barry anymore. You're causing, you know, bad stuff. And obviously the nephew doesn't want to see you. So you can, no, this isn't, you know, and I basically was able to set up like a protection shield to keep it there from running, basically.
Now, from my point of view,
yeah,
I video called with Barry, and I told him Megan says it's under the bed, right? He gave me the POV of his apartment again, trying to find anything in there. Now, the second he put me under the bed, I pulled something that was strong. The first time I pulled something, and it was like, it took a lot out of me, like thick smoke, heavy sand. How I would describe the strength of a spirit. Sand is very hard. Smoke is average in a sense like that. So heavy smoke, light sand. And you were telling me, no, it's still in the bed. So I was like, crap. And I was like, if this is strong, I'm going to need a backup, which I use Moldavite, which if you know anything about Moldavite, it's an amplifying stone. It amplifies the abilities. And it amplifies mine in the sense of turning my hand, essentially that has a power level, say, of a handgun, into a bazooka. It overcharges it.
Yeah.
And this is a big piece of Moldavite I have. So I had it near me just in case. So I said, hey, let's go to the bed again. And the second he put it under the bed again, and he showed me the camera view, and I was looking, I felt it again, but it was strong. And I was like, okay, I got to get this, whatever is here. And I put my hand, I reached out and I pulled, but when I was pulling, it felt like I was sticking my hand in a swirling pit of sand, like the thickness and the strength of it. And it was causing me pain. It was shooting up my entire forearm to even try and pull this, and I felt like I wasn't even getting it. So I grabbed a piece of Moldavite, and I focused it, and I pulled, and literally the pain level was so strong, and then the thought of, it's a portal.
Mhm.
came in my head, and I thought, I gotta close this. So I imagined my hand grabbing the top of, like, say, a circle or cylinder, and I remember squeezing it close with my ability, like squeezing,
Mhm.
squeezing, 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 and I pulled that energy, and I had it, and of course I cast it into my ring that I used to trap all these evil things and all evil energy. But when I closed it,
Mhm.
and I had that energy and stuff like that, that's when he told me it ran into the living room, which Barry took me into the living room. Then after that, and I pulled something that was smoke compared to what I just
Yeah.
took.
Yeah.
Um, and after talking with him, um, I figured out that somebody below him in his apartment opened a portal that went from his place. It went up to sorry, it went from their place up to his place, and that's why you were getting the up and down effect. It was creating almost like a cylinder of energy going down and up of a portal that allowed spirits to come through. Hence why he was dealing with so much, and that's why I pulled so many things from there because it was coming from there. And I think that same portal is where that Cheshire Cat demon, so we call it now,
Yeah.
was getting its energy from. It was feeding off that, along with the spirit that was attached to Barry. So when Barry brought that thing there, it became another minion to this Cheshire Cat demon that was already there. And that's why it was allowing him to be there. But I'm not 100% sure that whoever lives underneath him opened it. It might have been opened a long time ago,
Yeah.
but it was there. And it was just staying there at one spot. But the fact of me closing it took so much out of me. It literally caused me immense amount of pain to do so. But yeah, that was the story with him.
Yeah.
And the fact that I did this through a phone. I wasn't even physically there.
Yeah.
But yeah, my abilities allowed me now to do something that strong, that powerful through a phone without it glitching and breaking.
Yeah.
Which most people think what would happen, but no, it did cause a lot of strain to do so, but I still did it. But the sensation of how it felt is like, almost like you're squeezing the top of a cap and you're turning it into nothing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that kind of shows too, like how, what I guess could get accomplished when different psychics and different people with abilities work together. And that's why, like, I'm so excited when we get back out there as a team and we use, because, we all have abilities on the Shadow Walker Paranormal team, but they're all different. Mike has one thing, you have another, Megan has another, and I have another. So when we work together, we're able to truly help, not only the other side if they want to cross, if they are being kind of like bullied by darker malevolent spirits, or just need to get their story out but can't, you know what I mean? So, because, you know, when me and you basically put our heads together, we were able to locate it and I was able to keep it at least in the apartment, stop it from going in and out of the portal in a sense and see exactly what it is. Because obviously, you have a hard time seeing this
Or that
stuff.
I can't see.
And if you have if I can describe it to you and you have the intent of seeing it, it's easier to pull. It's like, because, with a naked eye, it's hard to see these things,
Well, I remember explaining it once to somebody, it's like staring through my third eye. It's why I always close my eyes when I pull. It's because I'm trying to see through my third eye. I'm trying to see what I'm actually pulling. But it's almost like trying to see shadows in the dark.
Yeah.
It's very hard. You can kind of see what's kind of there, but that's the most of what I can see. So it's like trying to see shadows in the dark. That's my best way to see it, trying to see anything that's there. So I mostly have to rely on my own imagination in order to fill in the blanks of what I can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so far, I messaged Barry, I think yesterday. And he's doing well. He says it's very, very peaceful. It was peaceful for him for the first pull until like that stuff happened in his room. But definitely he said it was a complete 180-degree difference. And yeah. So if you're out there and you're listening and you feel like you need help,
Doesn't matter where you are,
we can
as long as I can see you.
Yeah, we can help you. And like I said, for the Shadow Walker Paranormal team, there's the rest of them. Mike and Megan are still kind of healing with some of the stuff that they have, but hopefully by the end of summer to the early fall, we're going to be out in full force. Because we have a pretty cool idea for a Halloween episode this year. That is probably going to be one of our most intense, but kind of cool episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I know I wanted to talk about the fourth and fifth dimension, the idea of it, but I'll say our theory at the end. But the whole episode was kind of a theory to begin with.
Yeah.
And I guess in conclusion, um, the fourth and fifth dimensions essentially, and people even say there's more. Like there's 11, which is like you're kind of splitting hairs there.
Because it's kind of like even theorizing past the fifth dimension is hard for us as humans because we can vaguely see the fourth, let alone it takes, we can hardly even tap into the fifth. I have a theory though. I feel like when you I don't know how, this is a little quick theory before we conclude. But I was saying, because I was getting confused of when they say 4D consciousness and 5D consciousness. Like, okay, well, what does that have to do with the dimensions? Like I kept getting confused. But I think it's when your mind is at that level, you know what I mean? Like 4D consciousness, 5D, how you react to things and how your mind reacts, and you're tapping into that actively, like the 4D consciousness, the 5D consciousness or whatever, allows you to see more, if that makes sense. Like a psychic that is
the more people are spiritually awakening, you would say, the more the connection they can make to the fourth dimension in order to see past, present, future, all that stuff. And even communicate with the spirits and such like that. So that is an idea for the future when it comes to us discovering what the fourth dimensional stuff can do. But I think that's it for this episode. What's we're doing next?
So next week we are, because I know we talked about it and there was a lot of people that actually were interested. We are going to go into haunted locations that have a pirate backlore, and that's because I'm so excited about that episode, and we have a lot of spots here. Who knows? Maybe we'll take you to one.
No,
next week, maybe I'll venture out by myself and go to these locations for you guys and get some video or something like that.
Oh yeah, Blackbeard's house is
Blackbeard, yeah. There's some places around here that aren't really talked about, but can be talked about now. So
yeah, his house is New Bern, right?
Beaufort, which is like 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe I'll venture out and take you guys.
We can't go in there.
Yeah, you can go in there, but I could take you around the place. Yeah. It's cool. It's like a beach town, so.
Yeah, so that's next week. So look forward to that. And as we said, now that it's been proficient, you can, say with our paranormal team, you can contact us and we can see if we can help you out from wherever you are.
Yeah.
So we got a new tool in our toolbox to use.
Yep.
But as always, guys, you can catch our social media at hiddentheshadowspodcast.com or hiddentheshaw6 on Twitter, hiddenthepodcast2 on TikTok, or links to all our social media. Always you can listen to us at hiddentheshadowspodcast.com, which is how you can contact us as well.
That's how Barry did, by the way.
Yeah. You can contact us through there as well. So if you need help and stuff like that. Also, if you want to go to the Shadow Walker Paranormal page on Instagram, you can message us through there as well. But as always, we'll catch your widows in the next one.
Yes.